Me and let's continue our conversation with Harvard professor Alan Dershowitz, author of the book Terror Tunnels: The Case for Israel's Just War Against Hamas. Alan, you heard Lindsey Graham. What's wrong with the senator's analysis?
Well, first of all, I admire Lindsey Graham enormously. He is one of the most productive Republicans who crosses the aisle, and I don't see anything particularly wrong with what he said. I just think the jury is out. He may turn out to be right, but what we don't want is a self-fulfilling prophecy. We don't want to further weaken a president who might, in fact, be able to emerge in the next 2 years as somebody who has made deals, not only with Cuba, but perhaps with Iran. And any possibility of avoiding military conflict and resolving issues diplomatically is to be preferred over the use of military might. So I think it's important that Senator Lindsey Graham is making the kind of statements he's making. I think it's important that I'm warning my friend, President Obama, that he should not become the Neville Chamberlain of the 21st century. But I think we have to keep an open mind and hope altogether that he will, in fact, strengthen the position of the United States over the next 2 years, which I think is a distinct possibility, though it's far from certain.
Professor Dershowitz, an Arab delegation has endorsed a Palestinian proposal to stop what they call the end of Israel's occupation. I want to get your thoughts on this proposal and the likelihood of it actually passing.
Well, it's the worst idea that I've heard in modern times about how to establish a two-state solution. What it does is it makes it impossible for Abbas to now accept any compromised two-state solution, because what his street is telling him is, why compromise? Why give up the right of return? You're getting everything you want from the United Nations, from Sweden, from the British Parliament, from the Spanish Parliament. Soon we're going to see other parliaments. Why negotiate with Israel? Why make a compromised peace? And the best evidence of that is an article by Roger Cohn in the New York Times last week, quoting Tzipi Livni as saying that even the current administration, Netanyahu and Livni, before they broke up, offered the Palestinians a two-state solution based essentially on the American plan. And Abbas turned it down. And the reason he turned it down is essentially he says, hey, I don't have to negotiate with these Israelis. I'm getting everything I want from the UN. So if you want an absolute guarantee that we'll never get a negotiated two-state solution, then continue to recognize Palestine unilaterally. It's an invitation to absolute disaster.
Professor Dershowitz, now you say you actually favor, though, a Palestinian state. So can you explain to us why you favor that and what's wrong specifically with this proposal, why it puts Israel at risk?
Well, first of all, unilaterally giving Palestine a state is utterly unacceptable. What will happen is what happened in Gaza will happen. They will be taken over by Hamas, and there'll be no Israeli military presence. What's needed is a negotiated solution with some Israeli military or multinational Israeli presence on the West Bank to protect the West Bank against ISIS and against a Hamas takeover. Some land swaps. Israelis have to stop ruling over Palestinians, and Palestinians have to stop terrorizing Israel. And so I think a two-state solution is good for both countries. But I think we're further away from it than we ever have been because of this absurd notion of unilaterally recognizing Palestine. Why do you reward the party that has refused to accept peace and punish the party that has offered it in 1948, 1967, 1993, 2001, 2008, most recently in 2014? Why do you reward the party that has rejected it every time and punish the party, Israel, that has offered peace repeatedly? It makes no sense.
Alan, a minute remains. If this proposal advances at the United Nations, do you believe the United States will veto it?
I don't believe it. I know it for certainty. The United States will veto that resolution at the United Nations. Talk about people who are my students. One of them who was one of my best students was Samantha Power. She is the United States representative to the UN. I am confident that she will cast a veto to prevent the unilateral recognition of a Palestinian state. She understands. She knows the facts. She understands that Israel has offered statehood repeatedly in a two-state solution, and the Palestinians have rejected it. And I would be shocked if Samantha Power did not cast a vote to veto this ill-founded resolution, which the United States opposes.
And I would wager, Alan, that you'd say not only is Ms. Ambassador Power smart, but she was fortunate because she won the lottery to get into your class with that waiting list. Alan, thanks for spending some time with us on these subjects. Take good care. There is more coming up on America.